welcome to Simple Spirituality. My name is Layla Sainsbury, and this is my second edition on the Simple Spirituality channel. And I'd just like to welcome those who haven't tuned in before. Last time I spoke about why simple spirituality. This time I'd actually like to talk about, following on from that, what I spoke about was the mind and the use of the mind and what the mind actually is. Some of you may already be familiar with the concept that we are not humans having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. There's actually a part of us that is never changing and is intrinsically connected to source of creation. Source meaning pure and positive energy, the essence of creation, and that is what vibrates as our soul and is in alignment with everything. Everything on this planet vibrates at a different rate. It's all light vibrating. And as humans, we only really have problems and issues that come up into our life when our thoughts and our programming and our thinking processes no longer remember that essence of what we really are. And that essence of what we really are is always pushing us to expand and to become more joyful and to see that part of us. It's always pushing for us to acknowledge that part of us and remember what we really truly are. So if we behave or are thinking with our mind out of accord with that natural flow and stream of consciousness, if we're out of alignment with that, we're kind of like basically may as well be swimming upstream against a universal current as opposed to flowing downstream and allowing ourselves to accept where we are at any given moment, believing that it's leading us onto something better than where we currently are. But we can be at peace and find peace and joy and contentment in this moment and feel better about the things that are happening to us right now by allowing, the theory of allowing. In the Tenrikyo Japanese teachings that I've learned a lot about over the years, they call that word Tano. Tano means joyous acceptance. Now, around 2.5 years ago, my son was diagnosed with autism. He just turned 2. He tuned out from us. He had a fascination with spinning objects. His language and social skills weren't developing. And when he was diagnosed, it felt surreal. It didn't feel real. It felt like the universe had kicked me in the guts. I really didn't feel that it made any sense. I felt like, what did I do to deserve this? And I couldn't see that there was any good that could come from this. So I fell into grief, and I fell into a state of like depression, basically. And in that moment, my spiritual practices couldn't pull me out of that. I had to go there. I had to feel those emotions so that I have something to contrast life to. It wasn't my first immediate response to think, well, good will come from this, this is going to be okay. That wasn't my first immediate response. But what it's done is trained me to look at my thoughts and where they're leading, and listen to what's happening in my own mind. Because in my reality at that time, my son was still very happy. Nothing had really changed for him. He was still in a really great place. He was enjoying life, as limited as it looked from my eyes. What did I know? I just knew that from my human programming that I was supposed to be upset about this. But now that I can see, I was blind, now I see, as the song goes. There is a grace that I have been searching for around this subject now in me, that's allowed me to see that my son is blessed with bucket loads of connection to source that I'd forgotten that I have, but I'd forgotten about it. See, what's interesting about him is he's immovable. He is immovable. He is connected to source no matter what I say, no matter what I do. He's going to do what feels right to him. Now I, on the other hand, have been trained by being immersed in society and being around, people who've been able to manipulate me. I've been able to become a chameleon and change myself to suit more about what humans want me to be, as opposed to what my feelings and my source self want me to be. He's in complete alignment with that. And when I started to see that, there was nothing flawed, there's nothing missing in him. It was actually me who was missing my connection. I was the one that was upset. I was the one that was depressed. So my mind had split away from source. I wasn't using my mind in accord with the way the universe wanted me to use it, which is to not judge, see the bigger picture, and accept that this is going to be leading me to my highest good. This situation. A good friend of mine says, it must be good, where are the gifts? Now I can see the gifts. So trust me, when everything seems like it doesn't make sense, we can make a choice. We can listen to our thoughts. We can listen to what our mind is telling us about this situation. And we can choose again. We can choose again. Now, to accept my son's autism, I didn't realize at the time how powerful that would be in unlocking my relationship with him. Because I wasn't fussing and shoving him around and trying to tell him to do this or that, like most people do with their children. You take it for granted that your child is going to do what you want them to do in most occasions. You can, every parent understands the bribery tactic. But the thing is that my son, there's nothing that he needs or wants. You can't bribe him with chocolate. He doesn't want chocolate. I can't bribe him with an ice cream. He doesn't want ice cream. I've had to adjust myself to fit this set of circumstances. I have had to make my mind flexible. See, there are gifts in this. To have a flexible mind means it won't break. When you have a rigid mind, when life bends and tests it, it snaps. And I realized that my mind needed to become, when your mind it becomes brittle and rigid and inflexible, And this is when the universe, when things start to happen to us, they become even more painful, because it's bouncing off a very rigid mind. But if my mind's flexible, things can come into my world, and I can bend and I can flex, and I don't get injured in that sense with grief and depression and feelings of anger and resentment and, all of those emotions that come. That's just me basically saying, I can't accept this. I can't accept this. My joy began the day I learned that I have to surrender. And when I surrendered against this autism, my son started to open up. And gradually, over the last 2 years, the improvement in him has been incredible. And some have said to me, Layla, this has been a lesson for you and your husband. This has been brought to teach you and to show you about you. Can you grow from this? Can you adjust yourself to this? And when you do, miracles will happen. The lesson will no longer need to be there. And some would say then, well, then maybe that's a miracle. Miracle is just a natural alignment when things go back to how they should be. When things are aligned with the way they need to be. When they are aligned with source energy. Now, however things go with my son, as long as I stay connected to truth and to the joy in knowing that my inner being is guiding me and my son and my husband to a better place, as long as I know how to yield to this situation and to not push back, but to accept on a daily basis. As I keep reminding myself of that, my mind begins to retrain itself. And my happiness no longer becomes dependent upon me hearing the right things or seeing the right things or things going the way I need them to be. Essentially, it's letting go of control. So, having said that, that's something to think a little bit about with our next topic, which will be about unclogging the filter of the mind. We're going to actually dig a little deeper, and we're going to look at the programming that we've inherited from our forebears and how that impacts on our own lives as we look at how the programming that we've received around us has shaped the way we see the world. The filter or the lens that we put in over the true source energy that is actually in behind that filter of the mind. And it becomes like a cookie cutter, if you like. So the cookie cutter of the filter that we see is what we continue to produce more and more and more of. So when we change the filter, when we change what's in the filter, we reshape the cookie cutter, then we begin to manifest things differently, because that pure positive energy that is our true essential self is allowed to express itself fully and freely through us. And that's when we become useful to the universe. That's when we can change anything and everything. We can change the attitudes of the people around us. We just have to align ourselves with that source energy. And what's in the contents of our mind is basically the world that we see around us. The world is kind of like a mirror reflecting back to us the condition of that filter, or what's inside that filter. or basically the shape of our cookie cutter. We can reshape that. That's within the power of our control, but we need to look inside ourselves. We need to look at our programming. And to do that, we can look at our parents to see what we've inherited, and also circumstances that have happened to us that have shaped who we are. So if you want to be alerted by email when a new video is uploaded, you can hit the little red subscribe button on this on the page in front of you, or you can click on the word Simple Spirituality. That will take you to the YouTube homepage, and from there you can hit subscribe and also see all the other videos that I've uploaded. Will be some original music I'll be uploading later on today as well, and all in tune with Source, and hopefully you get some good positive energy out of that. Okay, all the best. I'll see you soon.